So for this week's book, I read Dazzle Ships, World War One, and the Art of Confusion. And what I loved most about this book, more than anything, was the illustrator's use of the art in the books. I mean, even from the very first page, it's eye-catching, it's intriguing, it makes you want to search for more. On the first page, the author gives a short history of World War II and the countries that were involved. And it goes into talk about how during World War I, the British were losing ships at an alarming rate. They were losing civilians, supplies. They were facing starvation. They were considering surrendering to the Germans. They tried some crazy things such as training sea lions to spot the German submarines, having swimmers smash U-boats, periscopes with hammers. I mean, they were just desperate. And one day, a Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve lieutenant commander by the name of Norman Wilkinson came up with a crazy idea to paint the ships in camouflage with bright colors such as purples, blacks, and the whole idea behind that was to confuse the Germans in the submarines so that they wouldn't be able to tell which direction the boats were heading, how fast they were going, how far away they were. And it was an effective use because the Germans ended up signing an armistice with the Allies. At the end of the war, there was over 4,000 ships that were painted in this Dazzle design. It was really, really cool. In the back of the book, the very last page, I'd like to quote, it meant a lot to me. It said, times change, technology changes, torpedoes get faster, submarine targeting systems get computerized, challenges of all kinds get replaced by new ones. The willingness to tackle problems by trying the unlikely, the improbable, the seemingly bonkers will always be needed. After all, those of us inspired by Norman Wilkinson's paint job know sometimes desperate times calls for dazzling measures. So this book is not only just a book that's a fun way to teach kids about World War I and history and to get them involved in historical events, I feel like it also teaches kids that they don't have to be ashamed of their ideas, even if they seem crazy, their creativity, if it seems different than everybody else's, because when it all comes down to it, it is valid. Their thoughts are valid. Their ideas are valid. And it may just be what's needed to solve literally a war. And on in the end pages, there's a timeline in the book. There's pictures of Mr. Wilkinson, one of the boats, an actual boat that was painted in this Dazzle design. And that leads into my activity is I would first have my students fill in a timeline from this timeline, fill in events on that timeline. And then we would discuss how the author, he came up with a question, what are Dazzle ships? And then he basically worked backward from that point, from that question, using various sources. So we would break up into groups, and we would each search different sources for pictures, for old articles from newspapers. And then we would ask questions along the way, such as, how were these designs used? What were the different ways camouflage? Which ones were most effective? How could we design our own ships? And then what questions would we ask the ship designer, the pattern tester, or the captain of either one of the Dazzle ships or the U-boat? And then each group would design their own Dazzle ship and test it on a turntable similar to what was used back in these times. Thank you.